Welcome to Calm Sleepy Tales. Thank you for joining me for tonight's story, Songcakes from Widdersham, including a cosy recipe and a whimsical tale of sweet delights held in the Thistle Crumb Bakery. First, let's begin by letting go of the day and enjoy this moment of stillness. Find a comfortable position, let your head rest, and close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in and gently exhale. With each breath, imagine the air around you becoming softer, warmer, more peaceful. As you breathe, feel the tension in your jaw, your forehead, and your back begin to melt away. Let your hands rest. Let your feet soften. Feel your body begin to relax. Your shoulders, your arms, your legs, slowly becoming heavier, as if they're sinking gently into the bed beneath you. Imagine the worries of the day slowly dissolving, like mist in the morning sunlight, drifting away, leaving only peace behind. You are safe. You are warm. You are exactly where you need to be. Let yourself surrender to this comfort. And when you're ready, we'll begin tonight's story. Widdersham was a town where every corner had a story, and every cobblestone held a secret. But there was one thing that united the entire village: a love of songcakes. These delicate little confections, golden brown with a sugary dusting, were more than just a treat. They were a tradition, a symbol of community, and a memory passed from one generation to the next. People in Widdersham didn't just eat songcakes, they sang them into existence. The story began many years ago, when the first batch of songcakes was made by a cheerful young baker named Mabel Thistle, who would go on to open her own shop, Thistle Crumb Bakery. Mabel wasn't known for following the rules in the kitchen. In fact, she often liked to experiment, and the results were always interesting. It was said that she once tried to bake a loaf of bread with the sound of a violin playing, and the loaf came out sublimely melodious, though slightly lumpy. One day, on a particularly rainy afternoon, Mabel was experimenting with a new recipe. As she mixed flour, eggs, and sugar together, she felt an unusual urge to hum. She began softly, the tune gentle and calming, but as the batter thickened, her song swelled and became louder, more joyful. Her voice seemed to fill the little bakery with a warmth that made the air shimmer. At first, nothing happened, and Mabel went back to her baking. She poured the batter into small rounds on the baking tray and slipped them into the oven. But when the cakes came out, they were unlike any Mabel had ever made before. They were golden and soft, with a slightly chewy interior. But there was something more, a glimmer in their golden crust. As she set them out on the cooling rack, a soft, melodic hum filled the bakery, rising from the cakes themselves. Mabel, who had a flair for the whimsical, immediately recognized the magic in the air. She took a bite, and with it came the taste of memories, of summer afternoons, of dancing in the rain, of voices lost in time, but sweet as a childhood lullaby. Mabel called them Songcakes, and from that moment on, every time she baked them, she hummed. People said it was the song that made the cakes taste so extraordinary, that it was her voice weaving something more than just flavour into the batter. It was the beginning of an old Widdersham tradition, one that continued to this day. Every year, the Widdersham Songcake Festival was held in the village square, where everyone, young and old, gathered to sing and bake together. The event was part competition, part celebration. Contestants brought their own versions of songcakes to share, each attempting to add their own twist to the tradition. More sugar, a sprinkle of cinnamon, a dash of vanilla. But there was one rule that no one dared break. You had to sing while you baked. This year's festival was particularly special, for it had been a long time since Mabel Thistle, the village's beloved baker at Thistle Crumb, had entered the competition. Mabel, now well into her 60s, had a quiet and steady rhythm to her life. While she was known for her perfectly buttery pastries and her delicate bread loaves, she never entered the festival. She had, after all, seen enough of the competition's song and bake frenzy in her younger days to last a lifetime. But something about the pull of tradition had drawn her in this time. Maybe it was the children in the village who kept asking her to bake for them, or perhaps it was the feeling that Widdersham had, as always, a little something special in store. The day of the Songcake Festival arrived, and the village square was filled with the scents of freshly baked cakes, warm sugar, and the sounds of children giggling and people humming as they prepared their batches. The villagers strolled from table to table, exchanging recipes and catching up on the latest gossip. It was a time when even the grumpiest of townsfolk found themselves humming along to the music in the air. Mabel Thistle, the owner of Thistle Crumb, had set up a stall with her signature Songcakes, which she still baked with the same enthusiasm and joy she had all those years ago. She had a small crowd around her, and as she mixed her batter, she sang a lively tune. Mix the sugar, eggs and flour, let the melody rise. With every note we bake our song, until the cakes arise. Her voice rose in a sweet crescendo, and the sound seemed to fill the square, drawing people closer. The air sparkled with the energy of 100 songs, each one carrying its own flavour, its own joy. Everyone was involved, each hum and each note contributing to the village's magic. Mabel Thistle stood behind her own stall, watching the young bakers hum and twirl around their work. She smiled and shook her head, her silver hair catching the sun's afternoon light. It had been a long time since she dared to sing while she baked, but the urge had come upon her. With a deep breath, she picked up her wooden spoon and began to hum, softly at first, then more boldly. Her Songcakes were simple, just as she'd always made them. But there was something in her voice that resonated with everyone. She was steady, like the heartbeat of Widdersham itself. Baking these cakes we do not rush. Each note is sweet, each bite is lush. Let's savour the song, the smell, the taste, and share it together, no time to waste. As the cakes baked, the crowd around her grew quiet, listening to the sounds of her humming and the occasional soft clink of utensils. Mabel had a way of making time feel slower, fuller, as if her Songcakes weren't just a treat for the mouth, but for the soul as well. When the cakes were ready, she pulled them from the oven and set them out for the village to try. The Songcakes were golden, with just the right amount of sweetness, their centres still warm. As she handed them out, she smiled softly at each person who took one. A little girl named Ella, who had just started learning how to bake, took a bite and grinned. "They taste like my grandma's kitchen," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. "I can hear her humming while she works." Mabel chuckled softly and patted the girl's head. "You must have the gift for Songcakes, my dear." As the festival went on, the sun began to set, and the village square was filled with laughter, dancing, and the soft notes of forgotten lullabies. The Songcakes, baked with love and song, had brought everyone together once again. The tradition lived on, passed from one baker to the next, one song to another, and every year, whether they were made with a flourish or a hum, the cakes tasted just as sweet, for they carried the voices of Widdersham in every bite. For a batch of golden sweet Songcakes, here's the recipe that has been passed through generations. It's simple, but it needs your voice. Ingredients: 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of sugar, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, half a cup of melted butter, a cup of milk, 1 large egg, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a sprinkle of cinnamon, nutmeg, and love. The sound of your favourite melody hummed while you mix. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius. Line a baking sheet with parchment paper. In a large bowl, sift together the flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, and spices. In a separate bowl, whisk together the milk, egg, and melted butter until smooth. Add the vanilla extract and stir in your favourite melody. Don't forget to hum. Pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and gently mix until just combined. Be sure to hum something sweet while you stir. Using a spoon, drop spoonfuls of the batter onto your prepared baking sheet, spacing them about 2 inches apart. Bake for 15 to 20 minutes or until the cakes are golden and slightly firm to the touch. Let the cakes cool before dusting them with icing sugar. Serve with a song and enjoy. Let the music of Widdersham fill your home as you bake these delightful cakes. Whether you're singing a ballad or a soft lullaby, your Songcakes will come alive with the flavours of tradition and joy. A thimble of Curds and Quill's moon lullaby cheese would be a lovely addition. Lavender tea from the misty teacup, and a favourite story read loud beside a sleepy friend. If shared during a thunderstorm, some claim the crumbs echo with tiny musical notes, audible only to those who still believe cobblestones can whisper.